Hey there, sports fans. We're going Thursday night preview, week 5.
We have Indianapolis Colts heading into the Mile High Stadium to play Denver Broncos. The Broncos are sitting at 2-2. The Colts are 1-3. What do you got for this game?
I think personally I took Indy on this one. I'm going with 23-20 Indy on this one. I think the records don't really reflect the talent on the team, but B, Denver's playing more like a losing team, unfortunately, right now. They squeaked out a couple of ones last week. They won against San Fran 10-11. I mean, they got lucky, and then this week it just didn't really go there. Week 4 didn't go there well. I don't really expect them to do much more in Denver this week. I mean, they do have some offensive weapons, but I don't think Russ has really figured out how to work that offense. There is a lot of key injuries in this game. You're looking at Melvin Gordon's injured. Melvin Gordon. Williams is injured. Melvin Gordon's going to be playing. My bad. You're looking at you lost Gregory is on IR, probably out for the season. And those, defensively and offensively, that's huge. The receiving core still isn't, 100%. Judy's looked okay. Sutton's doing well, but I just don't think
Sutton's actually doing really well this year.
Yeah, and on the other side, Indy. There's so much talent over there, but something's not right. Something's not working. But Matt Ryan does look every week. He looks like he's getting a little more comfortable in the offense. I know Jonathan Taylor on that side of the ball. It's Wednesday, or it's Tuesday. It's gonna be Wednesday when you see this. He's wearing a boot still, so I don't know if he's gonna play or not. Because the game is Thursday. It's an early week game. They might sit him out. If they sit him out, they do have a decent backup in Hines and Philip Lindsay. So I think this one's going to come down. Personally, my opinion, I think it's going to come down between the quarterbacks. You have a seasoned vet in Matt Ryan, who I'm always going to root for because I'm a Falcons fan. And then you have Russell Wilson, who's probably one of the most talented quarterbacks to come out in that era of football. His generation. And they're both winners. They know how to win. So hopefully, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. I just don't think, even in Mile High, I don't think home field advantage is going to give Russ what he needs to get over the hump here. I know, again, other injuries for you guys. Darius Leonard's out with a concussion protocol. Sorry, Shaq Leonard. I don't want to have him get mad and, during his time away from football, show up at my house. He's got nothing better to do than bitch. Again, that's I mean...
Well, I also had a 3-point game, but I had the Colts put up a little more, and the Broncos put up a little more. I had a 27-24 for the Colts. I think Jonathan Taylor's health is going to be a big part of this game because, as you mentioned, Randy Gregory's not going to be playing. So if Jonathan Taylor can come out and actually look like himself, because he is nursing an ankle injury, if he can put up some good yards on the ground, expose the fact that the Broncos have a banged-up D-line, that'll take a lot of pressure off Matt Ryan. The Broncos are dealing with a lot of positional group injuries. Their receiving core hasn't been healthy all year, and Javonte Williams just suffered a big injury. So if the Colts defense, which if you watched last week, the Colts game, I don't know if y'all did, but the Colts got beat 24-10 in the first half and then came out and completely blanked the Titans. So the defense took a little while to settle down, but they looked really
tight
good.
Loss last week. Very tight loss.
They looked really good. They looked like the defense that was expected when they started the year, but Shaq Leonard needs to get healthy. Not only did he get a concussion, he fractured his nose, so he's quite a bit banged up. And they also are out Tyquan Lewis, who is a defensive tackle. He's a big run stopper.
How about Mo Ali Cox stepping up last week? You think he has the potential to have that same kind of connection with him and Matt Ryan seem to have the best.
Well, I watched it and I was excited to see Mo Ali Cox do big numbers. Not big numbers, but he was punching in touchdowns.
Did he get 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, he was punching in touchdowns. He wasn't really catching a ton of balls, but he was in the area where it mattered most. He was punching in touchdowns.
Yeah.
And the week before against Kansas City, Jelani Woods, rookie tight end, had 2 touchdowns. So Matt Ryan seems, at least in the red zone, to be feeding these big tight ends. I know Mo Alley Cox is 6'5", and Jelani Woods is 6'7". So down in the zone where he needs points, he's feeding these big targets.
Well, I mean, I know Matt Ryan coming from the Falcons offense has always had we've had pretty reliable tight ends, so I think he's been capable of, counting and looking. Having a tight end he can count on. And if you can be that guy, he'll definitely, help your numbers because, I mean, he had Tony G for a while early in his career. Towards the end of Crumpler's career, he had Algie Crumpler, he had Tony G. After that, he turned Austin Hooper into a great, free agent. He had a good season with us. Matt Ryan definitely knows how to, find these guys. So if they can get open, I think your tight ends could be, a small solution until him and Pittman can get their chemistry worked out. Pittman is just not on the field enough right now for him to have that same chemistry. There's not a lot of depth for you guys right now. It's a development type situation, but I do give you guys a nod. I think Matt Ryan will be able to beat out Wilson as far as game managing this one down.
Well, a big thing to watch for me is I've seen Matt Ryan find rookie wide receiver, 2nd round pick for the Colts in this year's draft, Alec Pierce. He hit him on a 30-yard out route. Not an out route, he just ran a fade on the outside of the field. And Ryan hit him on that against the Chiefs. And then last week he hit him on one against the Titans. And I don't know if he's gaining Matt Ryan's trust or not, but he seems to be, even as a rookie, someone Matt Ryan is throwing at least the deep ball to regularly. Michael Pittman would benefit a lot from that because it'll take some pressure off of him. And Nyheim Hines is a good backup. Jonathan Taylor, I really hope he plays, but I think the Colts can really manage to put up some points in this game. But it's really going to come down to the defense. Russell Wilson, he's going to have to start playing like Russell Wilson. And what I mean by that is everyone knows the Broncos haven't been putting up a lot of points this year. The Broncos' offenses look kind of stale. And part of that is I want to see more of that old-fashioned Russ where he breaks a tackle or he gets, like I said, breaks a tackle, maybe a sack, and he spins 15 yards behind the line, but then runs like 12 yards.
Like 45-year-old Tom Brady did
12
last
yards,
week,
yeah.
dunking under everybody and coming out.
Exactly. Plays like those spectacular, like, oh my God, Russell Wilson just made another play. I remember watching a play in the playoffs against the Vikings where he had a bad snap, fumbled the ball, went behind him, he ran back, picked it up, scrambled around the backfield, and then ended up turning it into a first down. Those are the plays the Broncos are going to need from him if they're going to be very competitive.
The problem with that is the Broncos spend a lot of money bringing him over, and they're trying to protect their investment.
Yeah, $240 million.
Plus a lot of picks. They gave away the team pretty much, and so they want to protect their investment. So they're not letting that happen.
But that's how he plays at his peak performance.
I agree. I think we talked about this earlier. Between the two of us was that sometimes when you have a team bring in a talented seasoned player, they have to decide whether they're going to let him play their game.
This
game
happens more with running quarterbacks. Typically a pocket guy.
Let them decide if they're going to let him play the game that they've made, that's made him such a desirable player, that made him the player they went out and got, or if now that they've got him, if they're going to try to make him play their game. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And I think this is a situation where you have to let Russ start being Russ if he's going to...
Do you think he's lost a step? Maybe he can't outrun linebackers to the sideline?
I don't think so, man. I think if anything, he's probably eating a little less now, so he might be down a few pounds, maybe a little more nimbler. I think a lot of quarterbacks, especially ones that take the game professionally, tend to actually kind of slim down, tone up, and lean up as they get older. They don't tend to just, bulk up and get a little chubby.
Maybe Sierra's feeding them right.
Maybe, you never know. As for Matt Ryan, this is something I think, and this might just be my opinion, but I think a lot of times when you come from a team, he was in Atlanta, and we were probably... As far as teams go, over his entire career, our roster changed only on an essential necessity basis. regularly every year we were bringing back 50, 48, 50, 51 players from the previous year. We were very rarely adding, and only young talent generally. We didn't really go out into the free agent market much. Brought back the same guys, and when you're a quarterback, no matter how good you are, when you're not used to working with a lot of young guys and having to develop and work and learn and train and teach, when you're to the point where you've been with the same guys for 10 years, so you could hike the ball and throw it and not even be looking in the direction you threw it and know that this guy's going to be there, especially when one of those guys was Julio Jones. I mean, come on. Tony G. These guys, when you have a young guy, you have to develop that chemistry. And I think sometimes people expect seasoned vets to be able to develop chemistry with players better. But I think sometimes it can be more of an obstacle. There's guys that constantly have a rotating receiving core, and they find ways to go out and constantly work with these young guys and this new guy and it's a young guy. And it's a different mentality, and I don't know if Matt Ryan, he might be struggling in a situation where he has to develop receivers to his ability. And it's affecting his ability to play the game. It affects the delivery, the timing, all of that. Because when you're used to being able, for the last 10 years, you call hut, you count to 2, and you just throw it that way. And you know that he's going to be, Jones is going to be there. Roddy White's going to be there. These guys around him, even as they got younger, Calvin Ridley's going to be there. These guys that they developed a rapport with, after a while, it's hard to develop young talent sometimes, and I think Matt Ryan is having trouble with this young receiving core and really developing their talent with his talent.
That could be the case. But one question I have, and a big problem with the Indianapolis fan base is, I'm happy you brought up that he's a seasoned vet. He's a former MVP, Super Bowl
contender.
He made it to the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl once, 2
been to the
championship
playoffs
games.
many times. We don't
3
the Colts fan base does not expect this type of lackluster ball control out of him. Matt Ryan has 9 fumbles and 5 interceptions on the season. And whether he's been under pressure or not, like you said, he's a veteran. Veterans know how to get rid of the ball. Veterans know how to go to the ground. I've watched, because as a Colts fan, I watched Peyton Manning, and his brother Eli was great at it too. They would just take sacks. If they knew this play was over and they knew they had no way to get out, they'd just go to the ground. Yeah. I'm not telling Ryan to do that. Play your own way. However, we need better ball security out of him.
You can't tell Matt Ryan to take a sack ever, because this guy took a sack that changed the course of his entire career in the Super Bowl.
That's not my point, though. My point is
he probably has, flashback, paranoid panic attacks about that fucking sack that time.
I understand. Because, 28-3, you got to boo it.
That sack cost him the game because it put us out of field goal range.
However, my entire point here is, though, we're not going to win games when Matt Ryan... Now, he didn't lose all 9 fumbles, but still, when Matt Ryan is giving the other team a clear chance to take the ball from us 14 times in 4 games, that's not winning football, so...
His stats are down. Taylor's stats are down. Because of that, the receiving stats are down. All those stats are down. How much of that has to do with the offensive line?
I think part of it falls on the O-line. I think part of it falls on Matt Ryan. I think part of it falls on the coaching staff. The coaching staff doesn't have this team ready to play week in and week out. Even against Tennessee, they came out in the first half flat, and they played very well in the second half. They didn't pull out the win. But against Houston, we're down 20 points to Houston, or 17 points to Houston. They come out and force overtime. They're not coming out ready in the first quarter or the first half of these games. So a lot of it falls on the coaching staff too. They're not playing well out the gates.
You've also
they need to get this team ready.
For probably the last 3 years or so, comfortably enjoyed 4 years or so, comfortably enjoyed the idea of probably the best offensive line in football. I know the idea originally was when Luck came back from injury to build him a line that could protect him so you'd have to worry about that injury. And then Luck bailed on you guys. But you still managed to put that offensive line together, which has helped break out an amazing young talent in Jonathan Taylor. And also kept a few mediocre quarterbacks in the game, It's Brissett had success over there with you guys. Carson Wentz had minor success. Phillip Rivers was able to still play late in his career with some success.
Some of these guys played well. Rivers was probably the best of all the guys you named, but the Colts have had 5 quarterbacks in the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the offense has never had consistency.
No.
But
that offensive line was, the rock that held them together. And now, I think it's safe to say that maybe it's not broken, it's not shattered, but I think that rock might have a crack in it that needs to be adjusted or addressed because there's definitely a lot more pressure. And Matt Ryan's never enjoyed being on his feet very long. We've had a good offensive line at times. He had it a little better towards the end of his stint with us, but he's older. He's not the mobile guy he used to be, and he's always been a pocket passer. He's just a guy who can run if he had to, but that's starting to dissipate. So you really
he looks slower than I've ever seen.
Without that pocket there for him to be comfortable in, you're not going to get the Matt Ryan you paid for. So you got to make sure. I think that's a huge part is your offensive line right now.
Well, regardless of that, I think the Colts every year that I've watched them, 5 quarterbacks in 5 years, as the season progresses, the team starts to look more like a cohesive
as bad as
unit.
Denver.
But
Denver might be right up there with 5 in 5 years.
Well, every year the team starts to look like a cohesive unit as the year goes on. It always takes a while to gel because there's been so much inconsistency at quarterback. But as the season goes on, they start to look better. They never really seem to fall apart, although they never seem to really shine. I think Matt Ryan and the Colts will be able to pull it together enough, especially if Jonathan Taylor plays. Randy Gregory's out. I think the Colts will be able to pull this one out against the Broncos.
I think if you go back and look at the stat, I think these two games playing on Thursday night might have the most started quarterbacks over the last 5 seasons together.
That might be true.
Denver, I think Denver's 6 quarterbacks in 5 years.
The only thing that might dispute that is the Colts. Every quarterback we've brought in has pretty much played the full season. We haven't had to use a lot of backups.
Yeah, but even then, non-injury related, you guys have still started 5. I'm pretty sure Denver's got at least 5. I'm pretty sure they had the year where they had the Osweiler mess where they had Osweiler start half the season. And
they've had Teddy play.
Yeah, they had a bunch of different. It's bad guys over there, so this could be interesting.
I remember last year the Denver Broncos had a wide receiver playing quarterback,
and they had you had him, you had Drew Lock over there for a little bit. You had who was behind Lock that came in for a while. I think they had 3 alone last year. It's pretty bad. But again, I'm gonna pick Indy on this one. I'm gonna go Indy 23-20. And we'll see you on the weekend.
Have a nice night. Colts strong.
Another one?
Yeah, we're gonna do one more video too.
Yeah, we have another one to do too.
It's not turning off.
Did it freeze?
It's not working.
And it looks blurry.